Welcome back to the Sports Perspective TV viewers and subscribers. As always, thank you for tuning in. And if this is your first time coming across the channel or you haven't subscribed to the channel as yet, then definitely hit that subscribe button. So the T20 World Cup is over. And I must say congratulations to Team India on winning the T20 World Cup, their first victory of the World Cup since 2007. So a huge shout out to Team India for that. But from a West Indies standpoint, no, the West Indies, we look forward to the West Indies tour of England, starting with the test series, which the first test begins on the 10th of July. So in this video, we're going to be looking at, the batting order for the West Indies, specifically the top 5 batters. So the question that I have for you, the viewers and subscribers today is, who would you have in your top 5 for the West Indies batting order? And is your selection based on experience or form? Right. So those are the questions I want you, the viewers and subscribers, to answer in the comment section of this video. And as usual, of course, I will definitely be sharing my top 5 batters as well as giving you a few stats and about the batters in the previous series, and also the ones that I have in my top 5. So just stick around to the end of the video while we discuss all of these things, right? So remember, share what would be your top 5 for the first test against England in terms of the batting order for the West Indies, right? So getting into the details of the video now. So the top 5 that batted against in the Australia series. So the top 5 in the batting order for the Australia series was Brathwaite, of course, who is the captain. Tejan Ryan Chandapal, Kurt McKenzie, Alec Athanaze, and Kavim Hodge. Obviously, there's been some changes to the squad since then, right? And so this is the current squad. So this is who you'll be choosing your top 5 from. This is who the West Indies team will be choosing their top 5 from, right? So the squad is Brathwaite as captain, of course, Alzarri Joseph, Joshua Da Silva, Jason Holder, Kavim Hodge, Tevin Imlach, Shamar Joseph, Mikael Louis, Zachary McCaskey, Kurt McKenzie, Gudakesh Moti, Jeremiah Louis, who he's replaced Kemar Roach due to Roach's injury, Jaden Seals, and Kevin Sinclair. So that's the 15-man squad that will be touring England, and that's the squad that you will be choosing the top 5 batters from, right? So like I mentioned earlier, the top 5 in the Australia series was Tejan Ryan Chandapal. He's no longer in the squad. He was replaced by Mikael Louis. But all the other batters that were in the top 5, that batted in the top 5 against Australia, are there, right? So Brathwaite is there, Kurt McKenzie, Alec Athanaze, and Kavim Hodge, right? They are still there in the squad. And if I think it will be a combination of both experience and form as it relates to how the West Indies coaching staff will decide to pick this team, especially the top 5 in the batting order. I think the bowlers, and for the most part, I think there is certainty around some of the bowlers that will be picked. But in terms of the batters, that's where I think there will be a lot of questions to be asked and answered, of course, right? So looking at the Australia series, so that they as far as it relates to the top 5, right? So Kurt McKenzie in the Australia series, he scored 138 runs in those 2 test matches against Australia. He was actually the second highest run scorer in the series overall. Only Khawaja scored more runs than him, and Khawaja scored 139 runs. So it wasn't that much more runs than Kurt McKenzie. So based on that, I do think that Kurt McKenzie will be included in the starting lineup in the top 5 in this first test match against England. Kurt McKenzie didn't have the best West Indies championship. He did have a few scores here and there, but he wasn't among the top scorers in the championship. But based on his performance against Australia, in that series, I think that merits him a spot in the team, again. And this will, I guess you can call this an experience pick, right? Even though Kirk McKenzie is still relatively young in his cricketing career, especially his test cricket career, based on how he performed in that Australia series, I think he will be included in the starting lineup for the first test match. Um, Obviously, Brathwaite being the captain, he didn't have a good series against Australia, but he's the captain and he had a brilliant West Indies championship. So he has been rounded into some form. And even if he didn't have a brilliant championship, the fact that he's the captain, I think that would warrant him being picked in the starting lineup as well, right? So I think Brathwaite and Louis, right? So Mikael Louis, that will more than likely be the openers in this match, right? Mikael Louis was the top scorer in the West Indies Championship, and he, rightly so, in my opinion, has been rewarded for his brilliant batting performance throughout the West Indies Championship season with a place in this West Indies squad. And more than likely, barring injury, which I hope he does not get injured or anything like that. He will make his debut for the West Indies in this test match against England, the first test match, right? So it will be Brathwaite and Louis to open, then a Kirk McKenzie. Then you have Ali Atani, then Kaveem Hadj, right? So Kaveem Hadj, he scored 115 runs in that Australia series, right? He was our second highest run scorer in the series. And overall, he was the fifth highest run scorer in the series overall, right? He scored, his high score was 71 and he averaged 28.75. So not the best average, but based on the series performance, like I said, he was the fifth highest run scorer in the series and he scored the second most runs for us in the series. So he didn't, and his championship season wasn't terrible, but would have loved to see it being better. So overall in the championship, he scored 334 runs from about 6 matches, I think. At an average of about 37. So not bad, but would definitely love to see it being better. But like I said, based on his performance in that Australia series, I think Hodge, you know, makes it into the top five for the first test match against England. Obviously, the team, they have warm-up matches to play in England before the first test match, and I'm sure the coaching staff and selectors will be taking how the batters perform in those matches as well into consideration when deciding the final 11. But I still do think that Kaveem Hadj, he will be in the top five, based on his performance in Australia. Again, the experience. Again, he's also relatively inexperienced, but compared to the other batters that are there, he has performed on the highest level, and as such, I think he will be in the top five. So far, you have Brathwaite, Louis, Mackenzie, and Hodge, being in my top five. Then the other person that was in the top five against Australia was Alec Athanaze, right? He didn't perform well in that Australia series. He scored 56 runs, averaging just 14. Coming back to the West Indies Championship, he also didn't have the best championship, right? I don't remember how much runs he scored exactly, but he didn't light up the West Indies Championship. So Athanaze, I would say, of the top five that played against Australia, obviously Tajan Chanderpaul is already out. But of the remaining batters, I would say Athanaze is probably the most likely, or the biggest threat of not being included in the starting level for the first test match. Like I mentioned earlier, they do have warm-up matches to play before the first match, right? So, hopefully he can score some runs in those matches, to stamp his place in the starting lineup for the first test match. But if Athanaze doesn't make it, a batter that could be his possible replacement is Tevin Imlach, right? So Tevin Imlach, he was on that tour. If I remember, yeah, he was on that tour of Australia. He didn't play any matches, but he was there around the team along with Zachary McCaskey as well. Like I said, he didn't play in the Australia series, but he was there. And as far as it relates to his West Indies Championship, he scored 485 runs in the West Indies Championship. So he batted really well in the West Indies Championship, right? So he was the sixth highest run scorer in the West Indies Championship, scoring 485 runs at an average of 53.88, right? So it was good batting by him in the championship, and as such, he is back in the squad as well. So for me personally, if there's anyone to replace Athenaeus in the top five, it would be a Tevin Imlach. For me, based on his performance in the West Indies Championship and the fact that he was on that Australia tour. So even though he didn't play in the matches, just being in and around that environment, the team environment, seeing how the team operates, seeing, getting a feel of international cricket, even though he didn't bat, that experience, I think, will do a lot for him. And I think he can possibly replace Athenaeus in that top five for this first test match. Obviously, again, like I said, the how they perform in the warm-up matches, will eventually, I think, eventually decide, which of them, make it in the 11 for the first match. But so personally, my top five would be Brathwaite, Michael Lowe, Mackenzie. I would have Imlach, but at 4, and Kavim Hodge. So that would be my top five, right? Again, so it's Brathwaite, Lowe, Mackenzie, Imlach, and Hodge. That would be my top five for this first test match. If Athenaeus can find back some form in the warm-up matches and show that because we know he has quality, he has talent, but he hasn't been performing in recent matches, right? So, but if he performs in those matches, then by all means, I would not have any issues with him being included in the starting lineup. But as of right now, my top five would be Brathwaite, Louis, Mackenzie, Imlach, and Kavim Hodge. Definitely share your thoughts in the comment section as it relates to my top five and what your top five would be for this first test match against England. As always, that's all I have for you in this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in. Do remember to like the video, share a comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as yet. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.